and welcome to the Pilotcast. I'm Tiffany Wolf, and today we are broadcasting live from EAA AirVenture to bring you the second of a very special three-part series. Pilotcast is very passionate about anything and everything airplane. So when we heard Lightspeed Aviation had created a foundation that would offer over $50,000 in grants to some of our favorite charitable organizations, we had to get involved and do what we do best, podcast. We have Allan Schrader, president of Lightspeed Aviation and visionary of the Lightspeed Aviation Foundation, to tell us a little more about the foundation.
Well, I loved what you said about being passionate about anything having to do with aviation, because it's our passion for giving really that got us started down this path. And we've just been really blessed as a business, and as we've looked around the aviation community, we found that there's lots and lots of organizations who are really doing good for aviation that we felt like they needed some better exposure and promotability, and we wanted a way to connect pilots in with the work that all these organizations are doing. So as we looked out, we said, okay, there's some areas we want to cover around growth in the aviation field, around awareness and advocacy, and around compassion. Let's assemble up some people and create a vehicle by which we can promote them and ultimately have pilots involved in deciding where money goes. And I think that's really the unique thing about the foundation. It's about pilots voting and deciding where dollars flow to people. And so I'll encourage pilots as they're listening in or follow up with this broadcast to go to Lightspeed Aviation site or lightspeedaviationfoundation.org, learn about the organizations that are there, and then you have an opportunity to vote. And it's your vote that decides which of the organizations get one of 5 $10,000 grants. And so the voting continues through October. But as soon as you get through this podcast, go to one of those sites, learn about the organizations, cast a vote. The other way you vote is by purchasing a headset. Right. When you register the product, you'll be able to make a donation directly to those organizations. So we're thrilled to be here. Thanks for your partnership with us in this, and we're just excited about having some exposure for these other organizations in the area of compassion.
Great. I have one more question for you. Is this going to be an annual? And is the foundation annually?
Yeah, our plan is to continue to do this every year, and each year we'll slowly modify the number of people and probably the actual content of the nominees. But each year we'll have grants. How many, how much? Well, as we continue to grow, we'll probably continue to grow that too. And we expect to be doing this every year. So as we grow the pilot involvement and their education and awareness, more of them will vote, more of them will decide where the most important places are, and that participation ultimately will be the thing we measure the success of the foundation about. So.
And how do the organizations get nominated now?
In the future, there's going to be, we have an advisory board made up of a number of folks within aviation who will be reviewing applications. This first year, we didn't really have a formal process that started with the 20 nominees that we have, but in subsequent years, there'll be a nominating process, forms available on the website. So if you're listening in and you're an organization or you've got an organization you're passionate about, probably in September, you'll be able to go online, download a form, fill that in, and be able to send it in to the foundation. Those will get reviewed and ultimately sorted and sifted down to the nominees for 2011.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for putting this all together and letting us come on and have all of your nominees on board to talk about this.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing from each of you.
Great. Thanks, Allan.
You bet.
During 3 days live at AirVenture, we will be hearing from many of the 20 nominees whose mission encompasses one of the Lightspeed Aviation Foundation visions of awareness, compassion, and growth. We have invited nominees to come and answer a few of our questions so that you, aviation community, will be able to decide the 5 organizations you think deserve to win a $10,000 grant. That's right, it is up to you to vote for your favorite charitable aviation organization. Voting can be done at any time online at lightspeedaviation.com or lightspeedaviationfoundation.org. Just look for the Vote Now button. In episode 1 of this 3-part podcast, we heard from nominees representing the awareness vision of Lightspeed Aviation Foundation. Today, we are gearing up to hear from the nominees representing compassion. This has to be one of the bravest groups who are constantly putting those in need above themselves. Whether they are in a jungle or in your local community, these nominees are on a mission to help the world, one person or one tribe at a time through aviation. Lightspeed Aviation Foundation defines their vision of compassion as this. It is essential that we use our gifts within the aviation community to serve others for the betterment of our communities and world. Before we introduce our nominees, we have a special guest with us who will help define how this area of compassion makes our aviation community so special. I would like to introduce one of the most sought after achievement speakers, former naval aviator, POW, Navy chaplain, and the original Maverick, Charlie Plumb.
Tiffany, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here and proud to be a part of this. I'm excited about the foundation. I think it addresses a number of the challenges we have in aviation. You're a pilot, as I, and we see several areas of aviation that need a little improvement. And Allan, Schrader, and Lightspeed, I think, really address these situations. One of them is just the stagnation of our pilot population, and that's where the growth comes in. The other is just the public awareness. You know, that's where advocacy comes in. And of course, today we're talking about compassion. It's pilots helping pilots. And in an organization like this, where everybody really is so willing to help, they're just looking for vehicles. And I think that Allan and his group here in Lightspeed Foundation is providing that vehicle to shine the light on these 20 different organizations that we really believe are enhancing aviation and making a better world for all of us to live. So I'm excited to be here and be a part of it.
We are so thrilled to have you here, and unfortunately we can't put all of our conversations on this podcast, and I wish we could, because you happen to be probably one of the most interesting men I've ever met.
Well, thank you.
And Wayne Hanley from yesterday's episode, which you can check out on the pilotcast.com as well. Well, thanks for being with us today, Charlie.
Thanks, Tiffany. Pleasure.
Today we have 3 representatives from our organizations, and I'd like to introduce them to you. We have Judy Benjamin from Angel Flight.
Hi, I'm with Angel Flight Central. We are a charitable aviation organization, and our pilots are volunteers flying people in need to medical treatment and for other humanitarian purposes.
Excellent. Thank you, Judy, for being here. And we have Dennis Garretson from JAARS.
Yes, hi Tiffany. My name is Dennis Garretson with JAARS Incorporated. JAARS is the technical support arm, or a department of Wycliffe Bible translators. Our goal and purpose is to try and find the fastest method to get the Word of God into all the remaining languages in the world that need it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And then our final nominee that we have here today is John Hook with Mission Aviation Fellowship, also known as MAF.
Hi, we're Mission Aviation Fellowship, US MAF, and we fly in 30 different countries around the world. And our job is to provide transportation and communication for missionaries working in really, really remote areas of the world. In other words, there's no cars, no roads, no other aircraft around. So transportation and communication is what our ministry is.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being here. Beyond these 3 organizations represented here, there are 6 other nominees in the Foundation's lineup this year whose principal area of focus is compassion. On behalf of the Pilotcast and Lightspeed Aviation Foundation, we would like to take a moment to thank all of our nominees for the contributions they make every day to better aviation. It's inspiring and remarkable what each have accomplished, and a blessing to so many people worldwide. Now let's begin with our question and answer portion of the show. First question. The vision of this episode is compassion, and when describing compassion, Lightspeed Aviation Foundation states, it is essential that we use our gifts within the aviation community to serve others for the betterment of the communities and world. Would you please describe how your organization's mission fits into this vision? And we'll go ahead and begin with Angel Flight.
Thank you, Tiffany. Angel Flight flies people in need to medical treatment, and this is scheduled appointments to long-distance care. It may be for a very unique kind of illness. It may be for a child that is needing specialized care for heart disease, all kinds of medical issues. Also, we do humanitarian flights, and we help individuals get to a family member who is ill to take care of them and things like that. And then we get involved in incidents like Katrina, where we helped fly people during Katrina to relocate and things like that.
Where do your pilots come from?
Angel Flight Central covers 10 states, right in the middle of the Midwest, and we have pilots, over 600 pilots in the 10-state area.
Wow.
And they are volunteers using their own aircraft, or they can rent aircraft or be at a club, something like that.
Excellent.
They incur the cost, and their only payment is a hug.
Oh, wow. So they could definitely use this money.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, let's hand it over to Dennis.
Well, Tiffany, as I mentioned earlier, the primary focus of JAARS, being a part of Wycliffe Bible Translators, is to help people have the Word of God in their own language for the very first time. We don't stop there, though. JAARS will fly anyone, humanitarian. We do a lot of medevacs overseas, especially when you get in very remote villages and places where people don't have access to out in the jungle type settings for hospitals and places like that. So we do a lot of medical. We do serve the local pastors and churches there. Other missionaries will fly anyone in order to be able to help in any way that we can. And so there's a lot, the whole scope of it, humanitarian and mission flying, pastors, local, the whole business.
How many pilots would you say are involved in JAARS?
Currently, I believe the active pilots that we have around 70 right now.
Wow.
And about 65 or so maintenance technicians.
And they're all volunteers as well? And
yes, we're all, Wycliffe is a faith-based organization, so everybody is responsible for raising his own personal support.
excellent.
And then any money that comes in for projects and so forth would go to cover other things other than
Wow.
there's no salaries.
Yeah, right. No kidding. Woo. All right, and John?
Well, MAF's ministry is to provide transportation and communication to missionaries trying to work in the most remote places of the earth. Not only do we provide the airplanes to get them where they need to go, but think about communications. There's email, internet now, satellite telephone. Imagine if you took your family and your children and you lived in a remote area somewhere in the jungle, and without the communication, without being able, you had to walk everywhere you go. What if your child gets sick, or what if you needed supplies, or if you needed to go to the hospital, and what if you had to call and have communication with a missionary doctor? And so we limit ourselves to these remote areas so they can either get around where they need to go and presenting Christ to these people all over the world, or we offer the communication for them to be able to talk to us, the pilots, or they can talk to missionary doctors, they can talk to each other and making their plans for where they want to work and what they want to do in the jungle.
Wow.
So transportation communication is our main service.
Absolutely. Now, how many countries are you in?
MAF is in 30 different countries around Asia, Africa, South America. And like I said, I'm with US MAF, but we also have European MAF, Australian MAF, Canadian MAF, all MAF, but all sister organizations. So we can cover a lot of areas around the world.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you so much. So we're going to go ahead on to question number 2, and we'll begin with Dennis on this one. Okay? Since your organization was founded, what has been one of its proudest, most successful, and most meaningful accomplishments?
Tiffany, I'm glad you asked that question. I believe
Me too.
that our most proud moment is when, I would say maybe twofold. One, when someone is assigned to begin to work in a language for the first time. A language has never been reduced to writing. But the ultimate pride and goal that we have is to make sure that New Testament, or the Bible in some cases, is completed. So when somebody asks me what pushes your button, I say to see someone read the Word of God in his language for the very first time.
Wow. Wow.
It's an amazing experience.
And there's quite a few movies that portray that as well. Is that right?
Quite a few what?
Movies?
There are, well, we have all kinds of DVDs and books and things that tell stories and so forth, yes. Mm-hmm.
And you could find any of that stuff on JAARS website?
You can find on the JAARS website, www.jaars.org. or wycliffe.org, wycliffe.org. Or you could just Wycliffe YouTube or JAARS YouTube. There's a lot of it there as well.
So if I wanted to see maybe some of the work that you've been doing or find out any news on what you're doing, I could go there.
To the websites, absolutely.
Excellent, that's great.
They'll take you right to the YouTubes from the websites.
Great, great. All right, go ahead, John. Same question.
Same question, okay. If I can sum it up in one area, it would be change lives. Not only change lives maybe physically, medically, but also change lives spiritually. And when you see their faces, when you, I can even, same as Wycliffe, when we see someone read the gospel for the first time in their own language, what an amazing thing. When we see someone get to go to a hospital that would otherwise never be able to get treatment like we'd be able to give, and see them come home again well and walking or whatever the problem was. And they'll come home spiritually changed and physically changed because they hear the gospel when they're in the mission hospital as well. You know, when we're able to take people out, you know, to people, I mean, this is 2010, there's still people running around with bones in their noses and rubbing pig grease on their bodies and you know, to bring good health into those people and not, you know, how better living standards for their children as well, better eating standards for them so their children can go up strong. So changing lives, I think, would be the biggest thing that I think we do as a whole around the world.
Wow, that's great. You know, in our first episode, we noticed, not to cut you off, but we did notice that all the organizations we had Civil Air Patrol, we had the 99s and Lindbergh Foundation, but somehow they all tended to overlap with one another. And as you keep describing what these different organizations do, you can see that all the way across the board. That, I mean, obviously the topic today is compassion, but you can see how all of your pilots are going out and, you know, using aviation in doing all of this amazing work. And it is, I have to stop and just say, it is completely an honor to be here with these organizations and to be able to hear what you're doing, because each one of you is saying that what you're doing is changing lives. You know, whether it's here in Wisconsin AirVenture or out in Papua New Guinea or wherever you're at. It's fantastic. So now, Judy, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, that's okay, because that's what we like to think we're about.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the greatest things is to get a call from somebody who's just desperate. They can't afford any kind of transportation. They need to get their child.
Gotta love AirVenture.
Yes. I love it. But you get a call and it's somebody trying to get a parent or a husband or a wife or a child to medical treatment, and we say, yes, we can help you, we'll get you there. We get them there, they start getting treatment, and then they call back and say, we're well.
Yeah.
And,
oh, wow.
you know, I mean, it's just, get you.
Right. Okay.
Nobody in this country should ever have to go without health treatment, health care.
And it's just excellent to see the pilots getting on board and
they love it.
Out. Yeah.
They love it.
Oh, that's great. Well, this next question is going to be our final question, and it's really exciting because with all of the things that you've told us so far about what you do, we want to know now when and if your organization does win the $10,000 grant or is awarded, because all of these amazing pilots at home go and vote at lightspeedaviation.com. What are you going to do with it? And how are everyday contributions going to make a difference in your organization? Because that's really important. So I believe it is John's turn to start us off.
Okay. We're not teachers or preachers or pastors or translators ourselves. God's called us to fly airplanes, to do the technical side of it. And so technical means aviation and communication, which is not cheap. There's nothing cheap about an airplane or the radios we use. Each missionary that we fly for has a radio in their own house for communication. So if we get that money, that's what we'd use it for. We need it for our technical side. There's so many needs that we have in our aviation, and so many needs we have in our communication. Give an example on the communication side, we're developing CDs for pastors who want to continue their seminary education, but they live out in the middle of the jungle. And
wow.
so I think a good use for the money that I can see that we probably most likely do right now, because we're doing so many of these, is provide CDs for pastors to have the courses in their language that they can continue their seminary education. They don't have to leave the village. They don't have to go to a seminary school, which they don't have any to go to if they had one. And they can stay in the village with their people and still continue their education, study the Word of God through these CDs. And so we reduce them, there's translation work, and then we have to provide the little computers that run off the sunlight to make them work so they can study. So I think that's what we'd use them for.
Oh, that's excellent. Okay, so the different ways that people can vote for you to win the donation is through lightspeedaviation.org or .com, and they can also go to your own website, the MAF website. And could you go ahead and give that to us one more time?
Right. If people would go to www.maf.org.
Okay.
Just maf.org. They'll have all the links, everything set up in there that you can give, and it'll tell you about what you're giving to and why and where it's being used around the world.
Okay. So a quick, free, easy way to donate is just to go online and vote. If you want to donate actual cash, you can go to any of the websites here. So Judy, we're going to go ahead and let you.
Well, much like John, our technology is important too, because that's how we communicate with our pilots. And so we're looking for money for being able to improve the technology and recruit pilots, because without plenty of pilots to fly these missions, we just wouldn't be able to help people get to the medical treatment they need. And so people can help us by voting, and they can also help us by coming to our website, and you can sponsor a mission. You can sponsor a regular mission to help a parent get a child someplace, or you can sponsor a special needs child to camp, to a special needs camp. And we would welcome people to come to our website at www.angelflightcentral.org and say you'd like to donate. We'd appreciate it. And please vote for us.
Great, great. Now I have a question for you. Are the pilots that are donating their time, are they also donating their own funds, or does
they are donating? They do donate their own funds, but they donate the flight, the aircraft, their time and experience as pilots, and many of them also donate money along the side. So it would be nice to give them a break and sponsor them.
That's quite a large gift from the aviation community.
It's an amazing gift.
Right. So clearly what all the pilots that are in your group are saying is that this is a very good organization to donate to, and very important. So we have these gentlemen who are going out to, well, you're local, but you're in the U.S., right, John? But you're also taking it out into, no, you can keep it. You're also taking MAF out into the fields, but it's, with so much of the mission aviation and the compassion that we have in our group, it is just excellent to see what we're doing at home still in the States. So that's great. Thank you so much. Dennis, why don't you go ahead and finish us up?
Tiffany, if we were awarded one of these chunks of money, it's a grant or whatever it's going to call, I would say that with certainty that it would go to one of our projects. At any time, anyone can go to our website, www.jaars.org, and see a list of projects. Even on the home page, some are listed, and you can see a more extensive list, or just call the toll-free numbers and ask. Right now, our two here at the AirVenture 2010, we're highlighting two of those projects. One is a little over $2 million project for a Pilatus PC-6 that we need in Indonesia, Papua province, and the other one is a Cessna 207 Saloy conversion that will be sent to Cameroon, West Africa.
Wow. So you could definitely use that $10,000 grant.
Absolutely, we certainly can.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you.
Well, again, we're so happy to have you here. I just want to remind the folks listening to this that when you do go to the Lightspeed Aviation Foundation.org website, you're going to see this background, which you might be able to make out behind our guests, and you can press on any of those links and it'll take you right to their website. That concludes episode 2 of our 3-part series. We encourage you to donate a vote worth $50,000. Voting can be done online at lightspeedaviation.com or lightspeedaviationfoundation.org. If you are with us at AirVenture, then you can go to any of the nominees' booths or visit us right here at the Lightspeed Aviation tent, booth number 259. I'm Tiffany Wolf with the Pilotcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to our guests, and we're wishing you blue skies.